Goal Line Extended, presented by Lacrosse Flash.
What's going on, lacrosse fans? Welcome to Goal Line Extended on the Lacrosse Flash Podcast Network. Today is Tuesday, September 28th, and I'm your host, Ryan Hulsebos. And whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on any podcast platform, we are glad that you're here as we have an absolutely massive show prepared for you all today, as we will be hearing from a handful of PLL champions, starting with Chaos head coach Andy Towers, as we begin to look back on the 2021 championship and the 2021 PLL season. Following Coach Towers, we'll be joined by Chaos face-off specialist Max Adler, who is now a two-time pro lacrosse champ, and then midfielder LSM, SSDM, Swiss Army knife Ian MacKay will be joining us to reflect on his first PLL championship and his first season as a member of the Chaos Lacrosse Club. We'll also have another episode later in the week that will include a few more interviews with 2021 PLL champs. So make sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever you got to do so that you do not miss it. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at GL Extended and at Lacrosse Flash. But without further ado, let's kick it over to Chaos head coach and 2021 PLL champion Andy Towers.
You're watching Goal Line Extended, presented by Lacrosse Flash.
Welcome back to Goal Line Extended on the Lacrosse Flash Podcast Network. I hope you're all having a great day and enjoying the show as we continue on here at Lacrosse Flash to tie that bow on the 2021 PLL season, as it officially wrapped up on Sunday with the championship game, as the Chaos took down the Whipsnakes by a score of 14-9 to eventually hoist that championship trophy, their first in franchise history, and it sees the Whipsnake streak of 2 consecutive titles in the league's first 2 seasons come to an end. And make sure to check out all of our Lacrosse Flash content around the game and in the aftermath of the game, whether that's on lacrosseflash.com or on the PLL Flash on YouTube from earlier in the week. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest joining us today on GLE as he continues his post-championship media and celebration tour as PLL champion Chaos head coach Andy Towers joins us today. Coach, ecstatic is an understatement for how excited we are, for how excited I am in particular to have you today. But you just won a PLL championship, a very memorable moment for you and all the guys a part of this Chaos locker room. And Coach, I imagine that this championship celebration had to have spilled over here into this work week that we have.
No question. You know, it was an unbelievable experience. I couldn't be happier for the players that have made so many sacrifices just on the chance that we may be able to accomplish our goal, which was the only goal we have, to win the PLL Championship. So happy for coaches Curtis and Panetta and everybody that was behind us throughout the entire summer. You know, we said many, many times that even though people were not picking us, we didn't have any self-doubt in our locker room. And so to see it through to fruition is incredibly satisfying. And, you know, we definitely did not leave any bullets in the gun after it was over. And some of our guys have actually spilled into Miami for the weekend. And so the celebration continues on.
Hey, all power to them. They're champions now. They can do as they please, whatever they want, obviously. Continue on with the celebration. I've had the honor, the privilege, I should say, to get to talk to you. We talked back before the season started. We talked there before your semifinal game with the Atlas, now getting the chance now to talk to you now. But when we talked back before the Atlas semifinal game, it was all about just playing our best lacrosse. And that's kind of been what you've been preaching here over the last couple of weeks throughout this playoff run, playing your best lacrosse when it came to the championship, your best 4 quarters of lacrosse. Do you think that this team, obviously, in winning the championship, do you believe you guys accomplished that this season?
I do. You know, I felt that, you know, obviously we were a work in progress and we started at a low point given the lack of available players in the first third of the season due to visas that didn't get approved, due to the return to the country policy that Canada had in place, limited some guys as well. Due to the injuries that we sustained in training camp, you know, we really started off in a hole. And we were able to, over the course of the summer, settle in on what we wanted to do schematically and secure the right personnel for those respective schemes in all aspects of the game. And I felt like we certainly played our best over the course of the playoffs, but I felt like the championship game was the crescendo. We played 3 real good quarters against the Archers in the quarters. We played 3 real good quarters against the Atlas in the semifinals. And the challenge for us was to come out and play a complete game. And we felt that if we played 4 clean quarters, that we were going to be a real tough team to beat. And certainly knocking off the 2-time defending champions, the Whipsnakes. They're so well coached. They got so many great players. They're so unified. We needed all 4 quarters of clean play to do it. And fortunately, it came at the right time. And we're humbled to get the championship.
You talk about kind of some of those, I guess we could say, obstacles, loopholes that we had to go through at the beginning of the season. I mean, 2 guys that you were expecting to have, Curtis Dixon, Challen Rogers, they never even joined this team. So something that you'll be looking to for 2022. But obviously bringing in those guys like the Chris Cloutiers of the world, the guys that we weren't sure if they'd be able to travel, we're able to get those guys to come in, the Ryan Smiths, the Tanner Cooks, guys that you were without there at the beginning of the season, able to bring them in. Coach, I want to start here with Blaze Reardon and your defense, though, because this unit, led by the MVP and the goalie of the year and the eventual championship MVP in Blaze Reardon, he's been practically impenetrable here in recent weeks and in this defense as a whole leading up to this championship game. But having Blaze in cage, it's almost like having a brick wall back there throughout the season, more like throughout the past 3 seasons here, throughout the postseason as well, and then finishing it off here in this championship game as Blaze recorded 15 saves. He turned away 63% of the shots that he faced, and it's the 5th game in a row that your team has held the opposing offense to 10 goals or less. And then as for who those shots and opportunities were coming from, this defense led by Jared Newman, Jack Rowlett, they effectively eliminated those Whipsnakes MVPs there on attack as Matt Rambo and Zed Williams, who have historically played very well against your team and really just in general, those 2 being the reigning MVPs before Blaze goes on to win it this season. But Zed in particular had played very well in each of his 3 games against your team prior to this championship game. We all remember what happened a year ago in the 2020 championship game, but on one side, your defense shuts him down, limiting his production to only 2 assists on 8 total shots. And then on the other side, the 2019 MVP, Matt Rambo, was held to just 1 assist on only 1 shot. I'd imagine that was a major point of emphasis for you, Coach Curtis, this entire group leading up to this game. But it seems like it's been a point of emphasis for every team in the past 2 seasons now, it feels like. And no one's really been able to figure it out, obviously, until now. But how is this group able to get it done here on Sunday and limit those offensive weapons that the Whipsnakes have?
Yeah, and obviously, in terms of players on the field, it starts with Blaze Reardon. All he's done over the course of the last 3 years is prove that he's without a doubt the best goalie on the planet. And I was so happy that those who voted for the postseason awards got it right in voting him the player of the year in the league this summer. He proved that without a doubt. And certainly, his performance in the goal speaks for himself. What maybe everybody doesn't see as clearly as the people in our locker room see is how great of a teammate he is and how great of a leader he is. He is super consistent every single day in the way that he communicates with his teammates, the amount of responsibility that he takes when we aren't successful as measured by wins and losses, and the amount of credit that he deflects to his teammates when we are successful. And for a team to have the best player in the world be the example of a team first person with zero concern about getting any credit really sets the tone for the locker room. And that is the binding element that we rode, over the course of the summer and certainly through the playoffs. You look at the personnel that we have at the close defense. I think that, Jack Rowlett, I frankly think, and this is not a knock on Graham Hossack, who was an unbelievable player and deserves all the credit in the world for being an unbelievable player. I frankly think that Jack Rowlett is the best defender on the planet right now. And so he wanted the challenge of another shot at Zed after the way the playoffs played out in the bubble. And he certainly delivered there, holding him without a goal. You've got the other side, which was Jared Newman, who was the defenseman of the year in the first season in 2019 and had an unbelievable bubble for us. He had one tough quarter, which was his first quarter of the first game in the bubble, covering Jordan Wolf, who's, arguably the best dodging attackman in the last decade of the sport. And, but outside of that one quarter in the bubble, he had an awesome, summer. He really did. And he played Matt Rambo as well as you can play him. I mean, and a willingness to do what you asked him to do. Not only Jack, or not only Jared, but also Jack and all of our players for that matter. A lot of these guys bounced around in different roles. Look at Johnny Surdick. He played some pole for us, played some wings on the face-offs, just willing to do whatever you want him to do. And we really look at Johnny, Jack, and Jared, and we think, hey, we got 3 number 1 cover guys here. And all 3 of them are athletic enough and willing enough and team first enough to do whatever we asked them to do, whether that was to bump up and play midfield, whether it was to cover specific matchups that Coach Curtis thought were in the best interest of our defensive strategy. All they wanted to do was win, and to be able to put the team ahead of everything else is really a luxury for us as coaches. You look at the play of Troy Ray and CJ Costabile. I mean, Troy Ray was unbelievable. He knocked down more passes, picks up more first-time ground balls, makes the right decision in transition, is a threat to score, 2s, is a great passer, and is zero maintenance. You look at CJ Costabile, as tough as you need him to be. I mean, he aging in reverse? I mean, the guy is just incredible. Takes total ownership of the defense. Every possession he's out there. When other teams score, he comes off saying it's his fault, every single time. And it almost never is. It's always the cumulative fault or whatever. And so he was such a huge value add and gave us an element of toughness and grit between the lines, with his intangibles. Again, how many 2s did he have? He had 3 2s over the course of the summer, and he had scored 3 goals in the semis against the Atlas, and had an unbelievable takeaway on the far side of the field toward the end of the game on Nick Manis, and that helped us feel like, all right, I think we just did it with that turnover that he caused in that situation. And then you go on and you look at the play of Mark Glacini, our team captain, along with Jared Newman and Blaze. What an unbelievable example for younger players in terms of how to lead a group of men and how to lead your teammates. He's the last guy to get on the bus everywhere we go, making sure that everybody's on the bus, then he gets on. That's the type of person he is. Pat Resch, as team first as you're going to find. I frankly thought that last summer, Pat was arguably the best short stick D-midi in the bubble. He didn't make a mistake one time last summer, and was one of the main reasons why we played such good defense and were able to make it to the championship game before we ultimately lost the Whipsnakes. And then you look at Ian MacKay. Ian, quite frankly, just doesn't get enough credit for being what I would consider the best, short stick D midfielder in the league this summer. He started out as an offensive midfielder for the Archers in the first season and played 2 seasons of offense for them. We trade for him this summer, and we're looking at him as, a potential offensive player, a potential long stick midfielder, a potential short stick D midfielder. We sort of settle in at training camp with him playing long stick midi. He scores 2 2-pointers against the Archers. He, scored another goal or 2. I think he finished with 9 points. But after the 3rd game, we get an injury to Danny Coates, and we got to move, him to long stick midi, to short stick midi. And he steps in and is essentially the best off-ball short stick cover guy in the league, in addition to being 100% trustworthy on ball as it relates to forcing guys to their deficiencies based on the scout that Coach Curtis provides to these guys. And then you have to address the play of Max Adler, who, as we look at our defensive side of the ball, it's the goalie, the defenseman, the short stick, D-mids, and the face-off guys. That's our defensive unit. And Max Adler, I don't think there is a guy that improved more over the course of the season than Max Adler. He was roughly 35% after his first 2 games, and then finished the season, close to 70% over the last half of the year, and went out and, destroyed the competition in the Archers game, went out and neutralized Trevor Baptiste going 50-50 in that game, went out and neutralized Joe Nardella going 50-50 in that game. And in both of those last 2 games, the semis and the finals, statistically he was 50-50. He actually controlled more faceoffs than he was credited for winning. And with that said, he's actually not even hung up on his winning percentage. We discussed that he didn't care if the other team won every single faceoff. If it didn't lead to an offensive possession that led to a shot, then who cares if they win the faceoffs? That's what matters. And so he's, again, like the other guys, only focused on winning. Those were the guys on the field. But the credit, schematically goes 100% to Coach Curtis. He did the best job of any defensive coach in this league. It is, simply put, one of the best coaches in the sport. We could all be on his staff. He just does such a great job of coaching in a way where he's a straightforward communicator. He has the tough conversations. He, is totally selfless. Couldn't care less about who gets the credit. Just wants to do everything he can to help us get the desired result. And sure enough, he couldn't have checked that box any greater than he did. And defensively, we got it done and held down an incredible team, and we're ultimately able to ride that to the championship.
You talk about that selflessness from a lot of these guys, whether it's Adler. Doesn't matter if he wins every faceoff, as long, obviously.
All of these guys. I mean, that was our challenge throughout the summer was getting a locker room of 19 guys that were 100% we guys, regardless of their role on game day. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge for anybody, that coaches on any level at any sport. And that's what made this group special, is that our players decided that that's what they were going to do. And that, the cumulative effect of that was we put a good enough team on the field, to win the championship.
I'm thinking just up and down your roster, all these guys. One that just comes to mind right away, Blaze Reardon being presented the championship MVP. He's the MVP, goalie of the year, now championship MVP. He's like, we won the championship. That's really all I care about at this point. Won the championship for the team.
Ryan, I mean, you nailed it right there. I love the clip of him, and it was 3 or 4 other guys at the podium after the game. And they, the question that was asked to him was, how does it feel to win 3 trophies this weekend? And his immediate response, 100% authentically, was, I only won 1 trophy this weekend. Yeah. And that was the championship trophy. And that just epitomizes who he is. And again, when the best player in the world epitomizes everything you're asking of the guys as coaches, it makes it easier to get connected and stay binded. And, we were able to do that.
Defense absolutely dominated in this game. As I said before, 5 games in a row here to close out the season, since I believe the week 7 game might be actually the week 8 game of that first one of your doubleheader. All those games from that point, 10 goals or less allowed from your defense here. So a phenomenal feat, obviously, from this unit. And then you mentioned Max Adler there before, 13 of 26 in this game, 50%, as you said, able to neutralize Trevor Baptiste there in that semifinal, able to neutralize Joe Nardella, which your team last season in that championship game was unable to do. Obviously, we know what happened in that championship game. Joe Nardella got hot late in the game, and obviously the storyline took off. But Max Adler was able to really neutralize things there at the faceoff stripe. Win really, and what was most impressive to me, win those draws late in order to control the game. Is just what I was able to see there from Adler.
Yeah, I can't say enough positive things about Ads. As a teammate, as a player, as a student of his position. Going against Joe Nardella, who, as great as Zed played last summer and as great as Rambo played last summer, to me, Joe Nardella was the MVP of the bubble. To face off at a 75% rate throughout the entire tournament. It's just absurd. I mean, it really is ridiculous. And he was a primary reason why the Whipsnakes won every game by an average of 6 goals, because they had such an overwhelming advantage in possessions, and that's not taking anything away from Zed. He's an unbelievable player, an unbelievable tournament, and I can verbally defend why he should have been the MVP and why he deserved it as well. But you can't overstate, the job that Joe Nardella did in the bubble. So certainly we knew what he was capable of. He's got great wing play, but look at what Max Adler did. Max Adler became a student of the pre-whistle setup and the cadence of the officials leading up to the whistle. And he did that over the course of the summer. And he was able to identify that his technique was at, an all-time high and on par with, TD and Trevor and Nards, and really focused on the timing associated with when the whistle's blown. And that adjustment, that mindfulness, the work that he put in, doing reps with that was the key to his improvement. He got crushed by Nards the first week of the season, which was his first game. And talk about being thrown into the fire. You're going against Joe Nardella and Earhart on the wing. That's the most devastating duo in the PLL since its inception. And then his second game is against the Canadian World Team face-off unit with Withers at the X, who's a stud, Rylan Reese, stud, and the best short stick ground ball guy on the planet, bar none, and Zach Currier. And those were Ad's first 2 games. And so, he really got thrown into the fire that way. But to his credit, he ended up making adjustments and working on them. And again, I stand by the statement that I think at the end of the year, he was arguably the best in the league at that position. And statistically, I think he lost the first 7 faceoffs to Nards, and then he went on a 13-19 tear and really dominated over the course of the last 3 quarters. And that ultimately gave us the possession advantage that we needed to blow out a tight game and ultimately win by 5.
Possessions after possessions. Obviously, if the Whipsnakes were to gain some of those, we could have seen a tighter game. But with just continuing to win those possessions, you're able to tally on a few more goals, widen that gap. And obviously, you're sitting in front of me here as a PLL champion coach. Your offense was also phenomenal, and really, it's this chaos / Canadian / Buffalo Bandits offense that we've seen it really all season too. Just able to put goals back in the net. We saw 10 combined goals come from these chaos / Buffalo Bandits guys, and Dane Smith, Chase Frazier, Josh Byrne, and Chris Cloutier. Ian McKay as well didn't get any points there on the score sheet in this championship game, but obviously Ian McKay, great season. You talked about it before. Great game here in this championship as well. But what was it like just bringing that unit together? They already have this cohesion, already have this chemistry together, and then implement what you guys want to do offensively. How was that? Just that I should say the build up to putting that together.
Sure. So, last year in the bubble, we had sort of a healthy balance of Canadians and Americans on our offensive end of the field, and we ran a little bit more of an American style offense when Jake Fricaro and Sergio Salcido and Eric Scott were on the field. And then we played a little bit more of a free-flowing box offense when Dane Smith and Audie Stats and Kevin Buchanan went in. And that's what we anticipated doing when we went to training camp in the beginning of the summer. But due to some injuries, due to the way that we drafted, we ended up ultimately deciding that, it would be foolish to not have this many great box players or guys with box backgrounds on our team and not commit to that style. Yet, we didn't decide to fully commit to that style until after the Archers game in game 8. We sort of had figured out, we knew for the first 3 games that we lost that we just simply didn't have enough healthy players available. We were the first game versus the Whipsnakes, due to visa issues and injuries, we really rolled out like, 5 healthy offensive players and had 3 others that were hobbling through the game, and we got blown out. And then, we go down to the game 2 in Atlanta and we play the Archers, and we think Eric Scott's good to go. And he sort of retweaks his injury in warmups before that game. And Westberg was still very injured. And we were, not healthy there either. We lose that game. We lose the game 2 days later versus the Water Dogs. And now Ryan Smith's visa gets approved. And so we felt like game 4 versus the Redwoods was the first game where we actually could roll out 8 offensive players. And we were sort of redefining our schemes each game because the personnel available was unique and different. And so we were trying to figure out a way to be competitive and win the games with the players that were available to us at that point. And then fortunately we won that game versus the Redwoods. And then we go to Long Island and we're down, I think 7-4 at halftime or 8-5, something like that. We go on a 10-2 tear and win that game. We go out to Minneapolis the next week and, we're a little stale offensively, and that was my fault. I didn't evolve proactively. I didn't make sure that we were a little bit different in Minneapolis than we were the previous game in Long Island. And I really failed our team in that area. And, but after that game, the All-Star break comes and we're going into Colorado Springs. Now we have Eric Scott is now healthy. Westberg is now healthy. Tanner Cook's visa is approved. And we've got 3 games left, the last third of the season. And we really decided, okay, we got to get a look at these last guys that haven't played for us yet. Ryan Smith had been in the lineup as an attackman only. Chase Frazier had been in the lineup as a midfielder only. And we actually brought Chase in to, sort of compete with Curtis Dixon on that right side. And with Curtis Dixon not available, we decided that was the game that, even though Ryan Smith had played really well for us, we decided that we were going to sit him so that we could get a look at Chase Frazier on the right side playing with Cloutier and Byrne on attack. We decided that we would sit KJ, who had played great for us, but we decided to sit him so that we could get a look at Tanner Cook, another left-handed player for us. And we dressed Eric Scott and Jake Vaccaro as the last 2 righties. And so we didn't dress Westberg in that game. And we won the game, but we felt that Jake Vaccaro didn't play very well. We felt that Eric Scott was a little rusty, played a little bit better in the second half than he did in the first half. But because those guys had played such prominent roles in the first 2 years for us, we kind of knew them as players and as teammates and had been great members of our team, but we just felt that going into game 8, we needed to give a look at Ryan Smith and Westberg, as midfielders, which is what we drafted Ryan for, and what we traded Bergie for was to play midfield for us, or compete to play midfield for us. And so we felt like we had 6 guys that we knew that we wanted to dress every game. But then we were looking at the last 4 right-handed guys, Eric Scott, Jake Vaccaro, Ryan Smith, and Westberg, for 2 spots. And we go out and we practiced the night before the Archers game, which was game 8. And I couldn't believe, the coaches couldn't believe how well the ball moved. It was 8 guys playing the same exact game, 7 Canadians and Mac O'Keefe, who's arguably more Canadian than the Canadians we have on the roster. And sure enough, we go and we play the Archers the next night and we win the game, but most importantly, the ball moved so well. And we didn't shoot particularly well, but a big part of that is Adam Gittleman played an incredible game. Then after that game, we felt like, all right, this is definitely our offensive roster. And so we went with those guys. The next game, obviously, versus the Redwoods, we lost the game, but again, we played very well. We just didn't shoot well. And again, Trouty played great in the game, just like Gitz did the Friday night before. And unfortunately, Chris Cloutier gets hurt, and so we have a spot to fill on the attack. And with our offense, we're dressing 4 lefties, 4 righties, and with Clute going out as a lefty, it was lefty out, lefty in. And so KJ steps in to play attack, which I was really happy that he got the opportunity to get back in, because when we took him out of the lineup to get a look at Tanner Cook out in Colorado, he didn't say anything except, coach, I'm 100% supportive of whatever you got to do. If you think this is going to help us prepare to win the championship, then I'm all for it. Well, that's what a we guy says. That's what a winner says. That's what a great teammate says. And that's what KJ said when he came out of the lineup. And that's when you find out who's team first. And so to be able to put him in and have him go 4-2 in that game was just awesome. But the reality is, even if he didn't explode offensively, it was still the right decision. But of course, he made us look smart in that instance, and we were able to win the game. And so now 2 weeks happens, and we're going into the semifinals, and Chris Cloutier is healthy now again. And so our challenge is a champagne problem, of course, but now we've got too many great lefties for only 2 spots. And we got to choose between Cloutier, who's been a PLL All-Star and one of the best offensive players in the league all summer long, who's coming back from injury. We've got KJ, who went 4-2, filling in for Clute as an attackman after playing midfield for us all summer and hadn't played a lacrosse game in 4 weeks. And we got Tanner Cook, who just played his best game in a Chaos uniform, going 1-2 in the quarters against Archers. And we got to figure out, who we're going to sit down out of that group. Well, ultimately, we decided that Chris Cloutier coming off an injury, there's always the possibility that he could get hit in a real physical league like the PLL. God forbid he gets hit and he gets hurt again. What do we do in that instance? And the answer is, well, we put KJ down there to fill in his role, but you can't put KJ in there if he's not in the lineup. And so ultimately, that insurance policy allowed us to see that KJ was the right guy to dress in that instance. And so we dressed Cloutier at attack, KJ at midfield, reserved the right to flip-flop those guys if things got stale, reserved the right to play KJ down in attack if something happened to Chris. And unfortunately, that meant having a tough conversation with Tanner Cook and letting him know that even though he's coming off his best game as a Chaos player, unfortunately, we weren't going to be able to dress him in the semifinals. And how does he respond, Ryan? Whatever you think gives us the best chance to win, coach, I'm 100% behind. Winner. Character revealed.
Absolutely.
And everything that our locker room was about and everything that we were building toward and hoping to achieve, but is so hard to achieve, with 100% buy-in. And sure enough, we play our best game against the Atlas in the semis. It makes it obvious we got to dress the same group in the final game, and then we build on that, play 4 full quarters, and win the championship.
Tremendous leadership, really. I got to commend you, because you right off the bat when you started there, it was, this one game we didn't play well. Oh, that's my fault. Right away, just the you taking the leadership that starts from the top down. So you're obviously giving all this credit to all these different guys. Credit obviously due to you for being just a tremendous leader here this season. You mentioned a few of those rookies: Tanner Cook, Mac O'Keefe, Ryan Smith. Came in, obviously, just 3 of the big college class that you brought in, but these 3 guys in particular played a big role on this team. How do you expect their roles kind of going into the future, going into 2022 and beyond, to expand, to grow? Mac O'Keefe, obviously, we saw it on Sunday, one of the best shooters to ever play this game, and he's just a rookie. How do you expect their roles to expand and grow?
Well, we're going to look at the dynamics of our locker room leading up to training camp. Obviously, the success this summer, makes us feel confidently about our offensive plan. Everything is discussed with Coach Panetta, who's our offensive coordinator, who gives, so much to this team and who our guys have so much respect for, and is a great mind. And Matt and I discuss, and Ryan, we all discuss what we're going to do on the offensive end, and we all discuss what we're going to do on the defensive end. But as it relates to, offensive, particularly, the younger guys and what we need, Coach Panetta and I are going to discuss that. And, the roles of our respective players next year will be determined by, the additions that we make with the upcoming draft and in the players pool, with the players that maybe, we lose to whatever it may be, whether we put them in the players pool or they don't make our roster and we release them. I'd love to be able to have the same team. I'd love to be able to go to battle with the same team and the same culture, but I'm also not a fool. And I know that every single year is a unique group. And even if it's the same people, there's different things that you have to manage. And that's our challenge. And as we're able to sort of manage the intangibles of the situation, that will dictate the roles that these guys ultimately take on. I'm sure all of our guys will be working very, very hard to improve in all areas, so that they're all coming back as better players, better athletes, more skilled, a better understanding of what we're doing schematically, and an emphasis on the importance of being a we guy, because that's all we're going to tolerate in our locker room. But I'm very, very confident that with the input of Coach Panetta, the input of Coach Curtis, that in the input of our players, that we're going to be able to, be in a good position to go out and fight to win next year's championship. And we're not looking at it as a repeat. Next year's championship is going to be a unique opportunity and the only goal that next year's team is going to have.
That leads me into my next thing, because I remember with talking to Whipsnakes head coach Jim Stagnita in the build up to last season, it was all, we're not worried about repeating. That's not even on our mind. We want to just go out, win every game, play our best in every game. Is that your mindset now going into this season? Obviously, we just wrapped up this 2021 season, so we don't want to look too quickly ahead to 2022, but just going into it now, we're going to take this a game at a time. We're not going to be looking at the big picture, but obviously we're chasing that championship because target is on our back. All other 7 teams, whether there's expansion teams or not, everybody has, you got that target on your back. Everyone's trying to chase you.
Listen, Stags won 2 PLL championships for a reason. He's the most successful coach in this league. And it doesn't surprise me at all that was his response. He's one of the best coaches in the world. And, and so, yes, I think that we have the exact same mindset as it relates to each year is a unique opportunity. It presents unique challenges. And the focus of next year's team will be to stay in the moment and stack successful, experiences on top of one another, and hope that we're able to get better over the course of the summer and be in a position to win again next year.
Pressure will definitely be there as you make that run for that 2022 title. We'll see, obviously, as we get into next season, how that goes. Obviously, as you said before, college draft ahead of that, a whole off season in terms of releasing guys to the player pool, adding guys off the player pool. We might have an expansion draft. Who knows what this off season will bring? So definitely stuff that we will be very excited to be looking ahead to in the coming weeks, coming months. We got news, obviously, during the celebration. Trophy broke. We got some possible culprits. Chase Frazier was an early guy that people were saying, that he's the guy that broke the trophy. Jack Rowlett, I know, had that funny post-game interview with many people thinking, that Jack Rowlett probably the guy that broke it. Do we have any leads as to who might have broken our championship trophy here?
You're getting no input from me. Listen, we won it as a team. We broke it as a team.
Coach Towers, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time today to join us. A PLL champion, a world champion coach. Congratulations again to you and your team on an absolutely phenomenal season. I hope you, I should say, I thank you for getting a chance to talk to us. I hope to talk to you very soon, especially as we get into this upcoming offseason. But if I don't, best of luck as you venture into this offseason and into the beginning stages of 2022. As we said, the pressure to repeat, even though you might not embrace it, obviously it is there. We'll see we'll see how your team goes about doing that, but we'll see. We couldn't be more thankful for your time today and for giving us your time all season long, Coach.
Thanks, Brian. I really appreciate spending time with you and AO. Appreciate everything you guys do for the sport in general, for the PLL specifically, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you. You guys enjoy your weekend.
Appreciate it as well. Enjoy your weekend as well. For everyone watching and or listening, Goal Line Extended will continue, so do not go anywhere. We will be right back. Coach, thank you again, and congratulations again.
Thank you, brother.
You're watching Goal Line Extended, presented by Lacrosse Flash.
Welcome back to GLE as we continue on with today's massive championship recap show after we watched the Chaos knock off the Whipsnakes last Sunday in the championship game. The Chaos Lacrosse Club becoming your new PLL champions as we head into the upcoming off-season. And we're going to continue with as many interviews as we can fit into this programming, led off by head coach Andy Towers and then followed by a guest list of 2021 PLL champions that has continued to grow over the weekend and then into this week. And the guy that's joining us next, he took the reins of this Chaos face-off unit when he was selected at the end of the first round of the entry draft back in March. Arguably the best face-off specialist available in that draft. And now he's a PLL champion, a pro lacrosse champ for the second time in his playing career. Max Adler, welcome to Goal Line Extended. Excited to have you with us. And congrats, man. PLL champion in your first season in the league, which had its highs and lows, but I think all those lows were immediately erased by this championship win.
Definitely, and thanks for having me. I mean, the only goal I have every year is to win a championship, so got off to a little bit of a rough start, but as long as we finish with a championship and another ring, we'll take it, so I'm happy.
You've now been to 5 championships, now have won 2, so kind of making it a regular kind of thing here every season, obviously expecting to get to that championship. But you mentioned it there. Obviously, struggles there early in the season, kind of adjusting to the PLL game. I had talked with Joe Nardella kind of ahead of the season talking about you and kind of like, you know, you train with Max. What's the expectations? And he said right away, like, Max is a real deal competitor and is going to immediately kind of make an impact. Struggled a little bit out of the gate, but then obviously kind of around that All-Star break, you really figured it out. And throughout the last 3 games of the season into the playoffs, you were playing some of the best face-off play in the league. How did you figure out that shift and what changed in that All-Star break ahead of that second half of the season?
Yeah, so I think it was really just getting comfortable with the whistle cadences and then just getting on the same page as my wings. I think we switched to double pulling the wings, which really helped a lot because we have such strong wings, especially at the long pull position. So that helped. And then having Andy Towers as my coach, who also was an All-American midfielder and face-off guy at Dartmouth. So he really understood the game and was able to work with me. And then you mentioned Joe Nardella. I trained with him pretty much every week. Noah Rack, Casey Dowd. I had really great training partners who were able to just help me figure it out. And was able to just make a strong push for the second half of the season. I think most importantly was the support of my teammates. Even when I was going through the rough start, I had individually, I had constant support and confidence from them throughout the entire year, which meant a lot because when you're playing well, it's easy to support you. But when you're not playing well, that's when it's hard. And that's what made my teammates so great and special.
Absolutely. And then you look at kind of like your production output. Like you said, struggled early in the season. Once you got to that All-Star break, though, you were kind of lights out then. And even when we got into the playoffs, 50% in that championship game against Joe in the last 5 faceoffs of that first half was big there. And then obviously kind of controlling the game towards the end. You were a first-round selection there for the Chaos back in March in the entry draft, 8th overall by Coach Towers, coming in, as I said before, one of the top specialists in that draft pool. Having conversations with Coach Towers. What were those conversations like ahead of the draft? And then you get drafted by the Chaos, a destination I imagine you thought was a possibility ahead of that draft. So what were those conversations like? And then joining this Chaos team, joining this Chaos locker room, how did that just transition go for you?
Yeah, so I mean, with my talks with Coach Towers, it was just making sure we're on the same page. And I think immediately after our first phone call, we knew I was going to do whatever it possibly took to help us win a championship and be the best teammate I could. And he was fully on board with, he was going to play the best players that were going to help us win a championship. So really immediately I knew we were on the same page there. And I had awesome teammates. We have a really, really, really close team of egoless guys who have one goal, and it's to win a championship. We don't care who scores. And it was a really easy transition for me. I mean, with the Denver Outlaws, it was a similar type of locker room feel where the expectation was to always win a championship, and all the guys were on the same page, and it was the same thing. So I was really familiar with the Denver Outlaws because I had played for them for the past couple of years, but it was a pretty seamless transition because the main goal and the only goal was to win a championship, not to get to a championship, not to have, certain stats. It was to win a championship.
The Chaos got to the championship there in the 2020 bubble out in Utah. That was before you obviously joined them this season. So Coach Towers, this entire Chaos locker room understood just that defeat. You obviously have that same mentality. Obviously, you've played in a championship in every season of your pro career. Before this season, you had only won one. So that's in 4 seasons, won one championship. You had lost 3. So obviously all that fire, whether it was from you with the team, obviously kind of built up, came together. You mentioned your teammates. Kyle Gallagher was a rookie that came onto this team, joined this team in the college draft. He got a couple chances there early in the season as you kind of struggled to adapt to the PLL. Obviously, as you said, the whistle cadence is just the different ways it's the game's played, obviously with the different rules. Kyle Gallagher, though, what did you think of him? Obviously, a teammate that helped elevate your play, obviously all season long.
Yeah, no, he's a stud, and we had Kyle Gallagher and Austin Henningsen at training camp, and although I got off to a rocky start, I think they really helped me elevate my game just because, especially in those 2-a-days, we're all kind of figuring it out, with Austin actually having the most PLL experience out of any of us. So I was definitely able to lean on Austin, and then Kyle is a stud. He was an absolute stud at Notre Dame. So just kind of us all figuring it out together. And then also having Coach Towers, who was a really great face-off group, and I think it really paid dividends. You might not have seen it early in the year, but later in the year, is our entire face-off group and unit. And I talked to them throughout the season, and they were, super supportive and would always, give me some tips, or if they saw different things, they'd help me out. So as an entire face-off unit, I think we're a team, and whoever's taking the face-offs, our job's to win. So it doesn't really matter who's out there. I think, it's a team game for us as a face-off unit.
You talk about obviously growing with the position, with the rule changes. Joe Nardello, we talked about him just a little bit there before. He obviously helped you with in that transition in getting used to the rules, used to the cadences, obviously with the different PLL rules. Then you play him in the championship after kind of getting dominated there in week 1, but you put up a great performance there in this championship game against him. A good friend of yours. Talk about that relationship with him, and then obviously getting a chance to play against him in a championship game here.
Yeah, so Joe and I go way back to my days at Bentley University. I would, after practice at Bentley, I'd Uber to like Harvard or wherever he was coaching, and he would be coaching me. And I'd go to the Face-Off Factory clinics. And then as I progressed and joined the Outlaws, we would take reps together every single day when I lived in Boston. And that was in 2018, where I think both of us had really good individual seasons because we were able to get reps with each other so frequently. And then this year and leading up to preseason and everything like that, we were able to just really get a ton of reps together, which I think paid off towards the end of the year. And during bye weeks, I'd go to his house in upstate New York, where he has a full gym. His dad's, I call one of my face-off coaches, and he's a pretty intense guy. So it was great just, having that, us having the same goals and also being, best friends and even working together. It was super important and super helpful. And I definitely would not be playing professional lacrosse if it wasn't for the Nardellas.
And then you go toe-to-toe with them in the championship game. That's a lifetime moment right there for the both of you. Obviously for you come away with the win. So great thing there for you. So awesome stuff. You talked about Blaze Reardon there before, kind of getting guys pushing you. I know he was a guy for this Chaos group that really pushed not just himself, but everybody else on this team, each of the guys a part of this locker room. In what ways did he push you there and just throughout this season, whether practice, game?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily pushing us, because pushing sounds like he was kind of a leader by example and would just play so well. He would elevate everyone around him. So in the biggest compliment, I don't think he pushed anyone. He just brought us along with him. But he was just the best teammate I could ask for. Like I said, in the beginning of the year, I'm struggling. Blaze is, high 60s, 70% saves, and we're losing because I can't win faceoffs. And he could have easily said, Max, you got to start winning some faceoffs so we can win, and was justified in saying that. But instead, during practice, he'd be helping me with faceoffs, asking what I needed, just doing whatever he could to make me feel comfortable and supporting me. And when you have the best player in the world and the MVP of the league telling you that, I think it just did a lot for my confidence. And just to know he had my back no matter what, and he was always reminding me of it, that made all the difference for me.
Great stuff. Obviously, the MVP of this league, the championship MVP, third consecutive goalie of the year, Blaze Reardon. Phenomenal season for him. Phenomenal season for this entire team, Chaos Lacrosse Club. Tough start to the season, as we were talking about, not just for you, but this entire group, off to an 0-3 start. You get hot there in the middle of the season. Really, the back half of the season, this entire team got really hot. Obviously, I believe 4 of 5 to end the regular season, and then spilling over into the postseason, and obviously coming away with this championship. This group, obviously, that we talk about the PLL, you're not with each other all week during the week and leading up to the weekend, like we see with a lot of these other pro sports. Obviously, the PLL getting to that point, but you guys obviously had to come together. When do you really think that this group fully came together? And then obviously, you guys started winning games as you got into the back half of the season.
Yeah, I don't know if there was like a specific point of us really coming together. I think Albany was a big weekend for us just because it was a doubleheader and we started just playing a little bit better, and we had a huge rain delay on our Archers game on Friday. So we were with each other in the locker room for, I have no idea how many hours, but it was just a lot of fun to be around everyone. And yeah, no one really got on each other. Everyone was there to support each other, and we stayed the course because, like I said before, if things are going well, it's easy to be supportive. But when things weren't going well, everyone was still super positive and super supportive. And we have a ton of amazing leaders on our team. What I think of is Mark Lassini, and I spoke with him pretty frequently, especially on the mental side of things, because he has his own mental performance company, and he's someone I really leaned on. But I just think our team and our leadership, it just made it really easy. So I don't know if there's a specific point. I just think we grew because we were so close. We just kept growing together as the season went on, and having those hardships to lean on really helped us in the postseason when things didn't go well. In that Atlas game, when they went on a 7-goal run, just being able to respond.
Absolutely. That response, obviously you have the highs and the lows. These highs, though, absolutely outweighing those lows, but it's really just those lows that get you to this destination. It's all about that journey to get there. In that championship celebration, though, we got a broken trophy. We're trying to figure out who might have broken it. Obviously not really to see if we can get anybody in trouble. We want to know who broke it. You got any inside information here for us? I
don't. I've heard a couple things in our group chat of who did it. I heard it was an assistant coach.
Hey, that's a leader.
I don't know. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. The glass trophy, it didn't seem super sturdy, but I guess there's 2 of them, so we broke one of them. But it's all right. I heard there's another one, so we're good.
There we go. We got a lead though. It's assistant coach is a lead here.
Yes.
For anybody that's trying to get to the bottom here.
You can ask the next person you interview which assistant coach it was. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Max, I can't thank you enough, my man, for taking the time to join us. A MLO champion there in 2018, now a PLL champion in 2021. Congratulations again to you and your team, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and appreciate all you do for the sport.
Absolutely. Hey, for everyone watching or listening, Goal Line Extended will continue, so stay where you are. We will be right back. Max, thank you again, and like I said, hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you. Go Chaos.
Watching Goal Line Extended presented by Lacrosse Flash.
Welcome back to GLE as we continue our recap of the 2021 PLL Championship and the end of the 2021 season, as we're now a full week removed from the championship game where we saw the Chaos Lacrosse Club win their first title in franchise history, becoming just the second team to win a PLL Championship in the league's first 3 seasons. And joining us next is one of the new pieces that joined this Chaos group ahead of this 2021 season, acquired back in February by the Chaos and head coach Andy Towers from the Archers, and he went on to make some massive impacts all over the field, whether that was with a short stick or a long pole in his hands. He is now a PLL champion as Ian McKay, Chaos midfielder, LSM, short stick defensive midfielder, whatever you want to call it, whatever you need him to do. He joins us now. Ian, welcome to GLE. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on now adding PLL Championship to that resume.
Yeah, thanks. Well, first of all, thanks for reminding me about the championship. We all joke around that whenever we text each other or anything in our group chats, we always make sure to add champ in there. So thanks for the reminder, even though I haven't forgot. But no, appreciate you having me on. Excited to do this.
Absolutely, man. Hey, you guys deserve it. This was a phenomenal season. Slow start, obviously, getting settled in here into 2021, 0-3 start. But then once the season got going, you guys started rolling. Once we got into the playoffs, you guys were almost lights out. Defensively, allowing 10 goals a game or less. Offensively, you guys are putting balls in the back of the net. And obviously now, as we said, PLL champions. And I said it there before, you were traded back in February from the Archers to the Chaos. And then in joining the Chaos, you're reuniting with a couple familiar faces, Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, Chris Cloutier, Chase Fraser. These are all guys that you're used to playing with there in the NLL with the Buffalo Bandits. Now you reunite with them, and obviously joining a head coach and Andy Towers, just energy, electric at all times. What was that locker room chemistry like, obviously, going into the beginning of the season, and then as the season progressed into the playoffs? How did that transition go with you joining this Chaos group?
Yeah, I mean, I've been traded once before, and it was in major series lacrosse. So this is the first time in professional lacrosse I've been traded. So I didn't really know exactly what to expect or anything. But like you said, living with all those guys, living with Josh, Dane, Klooch, and Chase, it made that transition really easy. And I've played against guys previously, and of guys, so usually it's not too big of a transition. But I played against Blaze in college and in the NLL, and I played with Glacini with the Bayhawks before. So that transition was pretty easy and pretty seamless. And I couldn't be any happier that I was a part of that trade and then now a champion.
You're a part of that trade. You're now a champion, and becoming a champion this season, you were used in a variety of different ways, as I said off the top, whether that was at LSM or if that was at midfield playing offensively. We've seen you do that for the majority here of your pro playing career in the PLL, or playing in that short stick defensive midfield role. You played in all 12 games this season with the Chaos, whether that was regular season, postseason, put up numbers offensively, defensively, as I said, just being used in a variety of different ways. In being traded to the Chaos, I guess, in before the trade, after the trade, I'd imagine, in talking with Coach Towers, what was the plan going into the season, and were you utilized kind of according to the plan as the season unfolded?
Yeah, I think if anyone was listening in to Coach Towers and I's first call, you could say that everything went according to plan on how I was used. Obviously in field lacrosse, people know me for playing offense and being at Vermont, and I'm into Chesapeake. And my first years with the Archers, I was strictly an O guy, trying to get off the field anytime we lost the ball as soon as possible. So, but I play defense and transition and box. And I've said this a couple times before, but the PLL and the version of field lacrosse they have is the closest to box lacrosse that we've ever seen. And with how fast it is, the shot clock, the shorter field, it's just such a transition-based game. And, I kind of flirted with the idea going into the bubble last year, and just such a short season there that, it's hard to make those kind of adjustments. And that's something that I've always prided myself on is being, that Swiss Army knife and being able to play multiple positions. But like I was saying in the bubble, to make a big adjustment like that, that's like a culture shock in such a short time. So we never really got to try that. And then I got traded. And like I was saying, that first call with Coach Towers, I just told him, I've been in and out of the lineup the last couple of years. I just want to be consistently in a lineup and do whatever I can to help the team win and, be successful personally. And that will obviously help the team down the road. So we talked about it, about playing pole potentially, because he knew that I'd played pole almost 10 years ago now in high school and with Team Canada, and or playing short stick or maybe that two-way role. And obviously I started off with a long pole and training camp in the first few games, and things weren't going well for us. We kind of needed to find a bit more of an identity. Not only on the D end, but as a team. And we brought in CJ Costabile, who was an unbelievable piece to the puzzle for us this year. And the call was, hey, we're going to bring him in. Do you mind going and picking up a short stick? And, I was like, no, absolutely. Whatever. Like we talked about in the phone call at the beginning of the year, like whatever it takes, I'm ready. So took a couple games to kind of get my feet under me, but guys like Mark Lassini and Pat Resch, the other two D-middies that I played with all year, they helped make that transition seamless. And, we had a really good unit and we trusted one another, and it wasn't about playing time or stats or anything like that. It was who's the freshest, who's going to help us win. And, I think I found my calling a little bit, I guess you could say, with the short stick and that D-midi role. And, I had a lot of fun with it, and the guys trusted me. And, it's obviously it turned out for the best for us last weekend.
You talk about that 2020 bubble, obviously the PLL Championship in Utah. Definitely a tough situation if you were to make that transition, trying to be a kind of like you were saying, Swiss Army knife there with the Archers. Just as you're saying, weird season, obviously with the tournament, weird coming into the season. There was no training camp, so definitely good decision. Kind of continue playing offense, obviously, as you dominated there last season. And then coming into this season, being that Swiss Army knife, playing in a variety there of different roles. You mentioned the transition play and how it's kind of similar to the NLL. You got Blaze Reardon back there in cage. He's making saves, immediately looking up, and you're flying downfield. You got CJ Costabile, Troy Ray flying downfield. How much fun was that? And then again, those opportunities to score goals. You had 3 goals, 3 2-point goals this season. How exciting and great was that this season, playing along Blaze and this defense?
Yeah, I mean, Blaze is incredible, and I think all his personal accolades that he got this year goes to show that, and he's well deserving, and couldn't be more excited for him, and not only the year he's had, but the PLL career he's had so far. And when you have a goalie like that as your last line of defense, it's unbelievable, because he's going to make those saves that some goalies might not make, and he's always looking to get the ball up and out quick. And that's kind of how we branded ourselves a little bit, like some games maybe the offense wasn't rolling and you're looking at the transition and the two-way guys to put points up. And, Blaze, it starts with him, and he's the catalyst with it, because if he's not making those saves, we don't have those opportunities, right? So, but it's just such a fun brand of lacrosse to play. Like I said, that's what I do in the NLL, and that's what I've done my career the last 10 years playing box. So to be able to bring that to the field game and find some success with it and have some fun with it, it's kind of given me that breath of fresh air in the field game that I kind of was looking for and needed. And like I was saying earlier, it feels like I've kind of found my calling here with this team and in this position. And, I'm excited for the future and to really, dial in and hone in on this position now.
Looking to obviously build off this 2021 success, try to carry it into 2022. And then looking back here before the playoffs, kind of a joke that you guys ran with as a team. It seemed like the social media running with as well. The 3.2% here ahead of the playoffs to win the championship. Was there any kind of chip on your shoulder, the team's shoulder, with kind of all those fan statistics being thrown out there and released?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the chip on the shoulder was all year. The PLL does such a great job with social media and pumping out content and all that. But if you go back and look, there's really not a whole lot of chaos early in the season. And I mean, rightfully so, right? We're 0-3, and it's probably not what the people want to see when you're in that position. But we've kind of always had that chip on our shoulder, and people don't really want to see us succeed, and we're the Canadian team, and we don't play with a ton of flair and all that, and going to the playoffs with the 3.2%. I mean, first of all, whoever that 3.2% is, I hope they're getting a ring as well, because they're with us through it all. But it became a kind of an ongoing joke, and we all knew the numbers, and we all talked about it, like you saw after each win, the different percentages and all that, and it was just kind of feeding into that underdog mentality, like all playoffs, basically all season. No one expected us to win, so why put any pressure on you going into a game that you don't already need, other than the fact that you're playing a professional lacrosse game. But if we lose, that's what's expected, right? If we win, then we're just proving people wrong and having fun with it along the way. So it was definitely fun to kind of run with that and poke fun at it, and it made for some good content as well.
I gotta go against you here on the box lacrosse, the Canadian. I see Dane Smith firing off a shot. It like whizzes past the defenseman's ear and it's like finished on the other side. Very exciting brand of lacrosse, I think, here that your chaos, your Canadian quote unquote offensive unit and team kind of plays with and plays as. The Hulsebos champ shirt. What was the inspiration to that that you donned there after the championship and the celebration?
Yeah, I got to shout out Mac O'Keefe for that. The Hulsebos guy, he's just kind of taken over the internet by storm. And when in my spare time, whenever I'm bored, I'm always ripping through TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and he's like all over it. So it's kind of funny. Mac and I would send videos and all that back and forth about him, and I'd seen that Barstool had posted that shirt, and it had the word champ on it, so it was kind of fitting, to bring that out. I bought 2 shirts. I wore one of them off the bus, so it was kind of a bold move to be claiming myself a champ before the game even started. But I figured if we win, great, then it works awesome, and if not, then I guess I just look like an idiot, and I'll take it on the chin. But no, Mac and I had a lot of fun with that, and Jared Newman got involved a little bit, and I just figured, why not go for it? It'd be a funny shirt, and everyone get a good laugh. And like I said, it had the word champ on it, so it worked out perfectly. Was
Mac O'Keefe your roommate this season throughout the year?
No, Max Adler. We switched up a decent amount, but once we kind of started finding success, I don't think our roommates changed at all, unless the lineup did a little bit. But for the most part, I was with Max. But Mac it always seemed like Mac's room was like right beside us or just down the hall. So we spent a decent amount of time together off the field.
I know you had Grant last season. I thought you mentioned Mac's name there. Thought you would have had him this year. 2 back-to-back Penn State alums there for you. But we actually just had Max Adler before you come on and join us. So great stuff there. Speaking of celebrations, though, the word on the street is that a massive celebration ensued following the game, spilled into the bars of D.C., following the championship win. We know Blaze is the championship MVP of the league, now a 3-time goalie of the year winner. Most importantly, though, he is a PLL champion. But when it comes to post-game celebration MVP, who takes that crown?
Oh, that's I don't know if you can just give one crown. I think everyone.
We can distribute multiple crowns. Let's distribute multiple crowns.
I think everyone was going pretty hard. I think you probably have to give it to Jack Rowlett. He had some pretty funny one-liners in the locker room afterwards, and the one video came out saying he had like 9 beers in 8 seconds or something like that. So he and if you saw the post-game interviews with him with his shirt off, joking around with towers and just being the funny personality he is, he was having a lot of fun with it. So we'll stick with one crown. I'll give it to Jack.
All right, awesome. Hey, great celebration. We saw some of the talk obviously coming out of that. Obviously, a big congratulations to you guys, PLL champs here in 2021. But you got a quick turnaround here. NLL season for you starts in December. When does that kind of uptick of getting ready and preparation start? And then how excited are you for this 2021-2022 season?
Yeah, it's I took last week to celebrate and kind of, I guess, let the body rest a little bit as best as I could while celebrating. But I'm jumping right back into it. I'm taking a flight tomorrow back to Vermont, and I'm going to be there for a week. And I usually do it since I've graduated. I'll go back for a week and I'll practice with the team and, use the facilities and work out there. And it's kind of my pre-training camp training. And it's always good to go back. I love Burlington. Obviously, I had a great career and great time there. So it's nice to go back and, see some of the guys and be with the coaches and all that. So I'll be there for a week. It spills over into our alumni weekend, so it worked out well. And then, come back here with all the guys in Buffalo where we all work out together and have a trainer here. So we'll be amping things up right away. Our first training camp is, I think, Halloween weekend. So it's a pretty quick turnaround, and there's not a lot of time to really rest and recuperate. But it's not a bad thing, though, because you're right out of it. You're fresh out of it. You're, other than the bumps and bruises that you get through the season, should be in pretty good shape and ready to keep playing. So it's nice to have the little bit of a break, but I'm also excited to get with the Bandit guys and, hopefully bring some of the success that we had with the Chaos and the Bandits guys that were on the team, bring that over to the guys and into our NLL season as well.
Absolutely. Try to carry that success over here from this championship to this Bandits team that's been competing here for championships for the last couple seasons. Obviously, we've been without the NLL for a little while here, but coming back here in December, that first weekend of December, very excited for it. Ian, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join us today. Congratulations again to you and your Chaos teammates, and best of luck as you do get ready here for this NLL season come this September. Or this December, I should say, excuse me.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It was fun, and appreciate you guys having me here. It's good to see what you guys put out, and excited I could be a part of it. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Ian. Congratulations again. And for everyone watching and or listening, we're going to continue here with our interviews with Chaos PLL champions now. Goal Line Extended will continue, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's show, and I want to thank you all for watching and or listening, and give another huge thank you and congratulations to all of our guests. If you are not already, make sure to subscribe to Goal Line Extended and Lacrosse Flash on YouTube and hit that notification bell so that you get notified of future shows, as we will have another show later this week featuring a few more 2021 champions. You can also follow along on Instagram and Twitter at GL Extended and at Lacrosse Flash. All the links that you will need will be in the description of the video or podcast that you are watching or listening to right now. And make sure to head on over to lacrosseflash.com as we wrap up our 2021 PLL coverage and look ahead to December and the start of the upcoming NLL season. But again, a huge thank you and congratulations to our guests, head coach Andy Towers, face-off specialist for the Chaos, Max Adler, and as I said, LSM, SSD, and midfielder, whatever you want to call him, Ian McKay. Thank you and congratulations to them for joining us. I hope you all have a great week, and we will talk to you on Friday. Cheers.
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at GL Extended, and subscribe to the show on any of your favorite podcast outlets. You can find Lacrosse Flash on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and online at lacrosseflash.com.